day one. I was doing this gig. I had a organ trio for ever, it seemed like. It was my gig. And I was in my really early 20s. It was an organ trio. And we were playing in this shopping center. I think it was Concord, California. And 5-night-a-week jazz gig. It was great. And so this guy walks in and sits down, and he's staring and watching everything I do. So I think he's a drummer. He's making me nervous. He won't stop watching me. And I'm like, oh, great. And I'm trying not to be self-conscious, and I'm thinking, I got to play the gig. So on the break, I walked right over to his table. And I said, I'm sure you're a musician, I can tell. And what do you play? And he goes, I'm a bassist. Oh, really? And he says, I also play B3. And I'm like, oh, man, what's your name? Paul Jackson. And my name's all on a big sign in the club, the Mike Clark Trio. And we had I said, well, come on up and play on the next break if you'd like. And he's like, okay. Now there was a Sherman and Clay, which is a music store chain that was in California, that was upstairs in this mall. And he heard us playing, and when he got done, he came downstairs and he managed this music store. So he came up and played the B3, and man, and there was a microphone there, so he sang as well. I didn't even know he sang. I didn't even know him. And man, all hell broke loose. I mean, he's not a great organist, but the parts of Jimmy Smith in the blues that really tickle your funny bone, he only has 4 or 5 of those, and he uses them all the way through everything. So he's knocking my lights out, and the groove is so heavy. We played a shuffle, and it was a whopper, and the whole joint is snapping their fingers and bobbing their people are moving, and pretty soon he starts, what's the matter now, Mama? Don't you need a man like me? And he makes up the lyrics. You can tell it's all BS. I seen you downtown. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. You was looking funny. She say, not now, pretty daddy, not unless you need some money. And he's just coming up with one after the other, and I'm going like, oh, I just died and went to heaven. What's going on here? This is for a drummer. It can't get no better than this. And then he solos, and of course I can see that he's not really an organist, but somehow he's soloing his butt off, man, And the guitar player with us is loving. He's like, wow, it was a experience, more than just played. And he played one tune and then left the stage, and we were like in shock. He just took the whole place over, he's just, God, and larger than life type of guy. So, I had given him my card. Oh, and then he leaves the club. It's like Jesse James come in, shot the place up, and then saunters out the door. And I'm like, this cat. I knew I was going to see him again. And I had his card. I knew where he worked, and he had my card. So I'm like, okay, I'm not done with that guy yet, And that night I get home to my house in Oakland, and there's a car I don't recognize in my driveway. I'm like, what the heck is that? So I get out, so I can't even park in my own driveway. This is how it starts. And I got my drums and all my stuff. So I'm unloading, and I'm eyeballing this car, and I'm like, what's going to go down here? And he gets out of the car, and it's the guy from the club. It's Paul. And he says, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, the first thing I said to him was, you're in my driveway. And he goes like, yeah, I know. And then he had some African hashish with him, which I didn't know, but he told me. He said, I got some hash here and a jug of wine. So I was like, well, come on in then. So
leave your car. It's fine.
So that was the beginning of it. He came in, and the next morning, 6 a.m., we're still talking at the table. My wife gets up to go to work. She's like, who the hell is that guy? What are you doing up all night? And I'm like, oh, man, we're talking about everything. And And then she really liked him. And then he cooked her a fantastic breakfast. And so she really dug him then. She's like, okay, this guy's cool. And then we hung out every day together for 30 years after that, like that's the story. All kinds of, we booked jillions and millions of gigs, organ trios, upright bass, piano, jazz trios, this funk gigs, this, that, the other. We infiltrated about 10 bands with our crazy rhythms, and everybody liked us, and it was on.
That's beautiful.
It is a great story.
I love it, man.
Yeah, man.
I love it.